So welcome back, folks. Really happy to have a marketing expert with us today. Mike, welcome to this online webinar.
Hey, Jim, how are you?
Doing well.
Great.
So today, I know like one of the most popular topics right now is marketing, and with everyone in self-isolation is how do I get my business in front of people? We can't deploy our salespeople. So, it's a very exciting time to have you on, and really interested to hear what you're seeing, because you working with business owners, you have a good line of sight to how COVID has affected people.
Yeah, for sure. It's, to say the least, been challenging times for everybody. That's for sure.
Yeah. So Mike, I know that we have a bit of a history together, and you've helped our company in particular, but can you tell folks a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I'm a lifelong entrepreneur marketer. I was originally in the advertising marketing world back in the 80s when I came out of school, and then I opened up my own agency in the early 90s. Had a marketing communications firm in the Mississauga area from 1990 to 2003, I think it was. And that was a kind of a traditional marketing communications firm. We did ad campaigns. It was around when the internet kind of started coming in the late 90s. And we started, we had a multimedia division, an email marketing division, that kind of stuff as well. Built that up, sold that in 2003, moved out to the Cambridge area, did a lot of contract work for a couple of years, and then decided I wanted to start up a consultancy firm, which was mainly kind of initially my expertise, making it available to small, medium-sized company owners and providing them with sort of an online or off-site marketing management set of skills that I had, which quickly became bigger, thankfully. And over the last 15 years, we've now become a full-blown digital and traditional marketing consulting firm, and we work primarily with the B2B world, so business to business, and work with manufacturers, distributors, professional services groups, transportation, a whole bunch of different groups, all on the B2B side. Predominantly Canadian customers, but we have about half a dozen clients in the US as well, and we do a lot of work for our Canadian clients that are looking to build up a business across North America.
Beautiful. So I imagine you guys have been doing some work remotely prior to this. So you guys are probably in a pretty decent position in terms of, being accustomed to using Zoom and doing these sorts of things.
Yeah, this didn't really affect the culture of our company at all. Our entire team has always had the ability to work remotely. We do have an office in Cambridge, but again, our ability to work remotely was quite standard. We work some crazy hours. We have a creative team, a web development team, an email and digital content team, writers, videographers, all those guys. So we all work remotely when we have to, and work some, as I said, some crazy hours. So having a traditional 9-to-5 office setting never has worked for us. We've always been kind of, come in, we have regular meetings together, but come in, work from where you got to work in the office if you need to work in the office, if you need to work from a client's location or from your own location, that's fine with us. We have a great team. They've been with me, most of them all been with me over 5-6 years since we had a big kind of hire in the 2012-2013 timeframe. And we have a few new people, but we're always kind of growing the business. But so we've always been kind of digital. So our core team now is about eight key people, and then a bunch of other regular team members that we bring in on a project basis when we need to.
Cool. Yeah. So Mike, I know we've done some work together, and one of the things that's always impressed us is the level of trust. And oftentimes that's not the case, where your expectation is you're going to get X and you end up getting Y. So you can tell us a little bit about how the pandemic has really changed the way people are looking at businesses and how important trust is in relationships.
Yeah, it's a great point. Typically relationships are built, kind of one-on-one, like you and I, we met in person, we were introduced and through a common colleague, and then we introduced each other and away we went. and you build that trust up over time, and that's great. And then we create a plan, and we execute on that plan, and that plan goes well, and then that trust just continues to build. And I think it's Stephen Covey who talks about the deposits in your emotional bank account, if you will. That whole idea of, for every good thing you do for a client, that's a positive deposit, and for everything that doesn't go well, that's a negative. And if you build up a great deal of positive deposits in that mental bank account, there's a great deal of trust that's built around that. And therefore, if something doesn't quite go right, you can always make a withdrawal if you need to, because you need to be able to help out that customer if something doesn't go right, or you need to fix something for them and be transparent with them. They trust you, that you're being honest, that you're helping them do what they need to get done. And I think that's how things normally work. With the pandemic, that whole ability to personally interact with people has drastically been cut short. People now are relying strictly on what they can see on a monitor, pretty much. Whether it's a Zoom meeting, a webinar like we're doing, your website, your social media, your LinkedIn profile, whatever it is, people are looking at a monitor and they're making a decision based on what they see, or maybe on a phone call, what they see and what they hear, based on very limited capabilities to be able to do that. So your ability to be able to communicate to a customer clearly, concisely, professionally on a monitor, or maybe over the phone, is much, much more important now than it ever was. And you're seeing a lot of companies now realizing that, hey, my sales team can't get out there. I can't get out there. I'm going to have to rely on what we have, and some of the stuff that we have ain't the greatest. It hasn't been updated. It's not accurate. And so therefore, that's where we're seeing a big change in the way that people are doing business these days.
Right. No, that makes a lot of sense. And I imagine too, people aren't going into bricks and mortar. They're not looking at your boardroom. They're not seeing materials you have in person. So, your online presence, the information you provide them, is really your first impression. So I can see how that's how people are now evaluating.
Yeah, and that really hasn't changed a great deal, particularly in B2B. People are less concerned about your boardroom as they are that you can deliver what you say you can deliver. And they will often have done their homework, especially the millennials, and we'll talk about that a little bit more later on. But people are making early decisions based on what they see online about a company, far before they ever walk into a boardroom or have a face-to-face meeting at a coffee shop or something like that. So that kind of homework is done usually well in advance. And that we talk about that whole idea of trust. If they are not even interested at that point, they're not going to have that one-on-one meeting with you. I mean, COVID's going to go away eventually. Restrictions are being lifted eventually. And you'll be able to get back out there and meet your customers and have them come to your office and all that good stuff. But at the end of the day, whether you got a nice office or not, it doesn't really matter if I don't think what I saw online is what I need. I'm not going to get to your office. I'm not going to meet you for that coffee, because I don't think what I see online is what I need. And that is even more so these days, because again, if what you have online doesn't resonate with the customer or the potential customer, you're not going to get much further. Conversely, if you already had a great relationship with a customer, you might get away with a little bit of looseness on the online awareness side. But again, if you want to grow your business, which we all do, you're going to have to be thinking a lot more about how you're interacting with your customers, rather than just relying on being a good guy or a good girl, good woman, and meeting up with them at a meeting and having a coffee and hoping they like it, that kind of stuff. So.
Well, and that's perfect segment into this slide, which talks about the relationships and how relationships are now being formed online, and impressions. We were talking about impressions and how people are looking at various as online business cards, if you will. Talk a little bit more about the relationships and what we're seeing as a result of COVID.
Yeah, so it's interesting. We probably have right now, I would say we're averaging 3 to 4 Zoom meetings a day. And it's interesting because where you might have seen a customer in person, maybe once a month, once a week, depending on what you're doing for them in our business. We're seeing them a lot more often, actually, because it's just easier. You can say, hey, here's a Zoom link, let's have a chat, and customers now over the last 2.5, 3 months are getting much more used to looking at a screen, used to this kind of interaction between, a set of slides, a face on a monitor, or picking up the phone or emailing. That's becoming much more the norm than, hey, come out and see me, or hey, I'll come to you. And on top of that, the relationships I find are much more open now. I think when the initial COVID hit, it rattled the cages of people, no matter how successful they were, no matter how busy they were, no matter how high ranking they were. It rattled everybody's cage to the core. And I found that I've been able to have much more meaningful relationships quicker to the decision maker quicker now than I have in previous years, because they're not as busy, they're not as distracted, they're looking for ideas in which way to and how to grow their business and how to get through all this and how to build their relationships online, and they're much more attuned to that. And it's not a nice to have, it's a must have now.
Right.
And so these things I mentioned on screen, video conferencing, email, SMS, that's texting, phone, website, social media, LinkedIn, all of this is stuff that people are taking a much more attention to now, because they realize that their customers are going to be looking at that much more, and they're going to be checking out their LinkedIn profile. They're going to be checking out their website. Is there a video on their website? That kind of stuff. They're going to be looking at that a lot more now.
Fascinating. And then I know within your company culture, you guys use the 3 C's in terms of, can you talk a little bit about what this means?
Sure. So, human nature is always going to tell you that COVID is not going to change the way we make decisions with each other. People are always still going to be people, COVID or no COVID.
Right.
So people are not, whether there's COVID in place, something else in place, economic hardships in place, whatever, people are always going to buy from people they like, and they're going to from people they trust. It starts off by liking somebody, having a conversation with them, whatever. Eventually you build that trust up with them, and those are the people that you build relationships with, and then that will buy from you. Okay. The quicker you can get from introduction to trust, the quicker you'll be able to make a sell. And in order to do that, there's what we call the 3 C's of trust. There's multiple books written on it, multiple authors are on it, but I kind of compartmental it into sort of 3 things. The first is about competency. If you know what you're doing, and you come across that way, that you know what you're doing, and you prove to a potential customer that you know what you're doing, that's all about the competency. That's about your experience, and it's supported by others. What I mean by supported by others, it's other customers will tell you that I know what I'm doing. Colleagues will say, this guy knows what he's doing. The internet will tell you that this guy knows what he's doing. And so that's all supported by others. And so that's how you build up that competency approval from a potential customer. The second one is consistency. And you'll look at every major brand in the world and you'll say, man, the obvious typical one is McDonald's. The McDonald's logo is the same, whatever country you're in, whatever world, wherever you are in the world, it's the same. That consistency is guarded and protected and put forward to show the regular value that they provide their customers, so that wherever you go, you have a sense of consistency. And I'll give you an example. If a guy walked into your door to sell you whatever one day, and he comes in wearing a t-shirt and shorts one day, and the next day he's wearing a suit, and the next day he's maybe in between, and then he's on time, not on time. Sometimes he knows what he's talking about, sometimes he doesn't. He's all over the place. That's inconsistency. You don't have a trust that this guy is really going to come through for you. Whereas the guy shows up every day, professionally dressed, knows what he's talking about, communicates clearly, is on time, all those kind of things, you start to build a sense of trust that this guy's a professional. And that's really what builds up that consistency factor in the back of your mind, saying, yeah, this guy's reliable. He hasn't let me down. He's always been there on time. He's always come through for me, that kind of stuff. That's really where the consistency is important. And that's where, again, where companies spend a lot of money on it, on making sure that brand consistency is the same across anywhere. You walk into a McDonald's anywhere around the world, you crack open a bottle of Coke, you walk into a Starbucks, you ride a Harley, you know what you're going to get wherever you get it from around the world. It's going to be the same thing. You can trust on that. Right. The third thing of character, and that's the hardest thing to build. I can tell you all day long that I'm a great guy, you can trust me. Doesn't mean anything. And what really is interesting nowadays online is that social media exposes insincerity to the nth degree. So if I go online and say on my website, for example, I have these accreditations and I know how to do this stuff and I know all this stuff, and then 15 people go on my social media and say, no, he doesn't. And a perfect example is B2C, when people do, like on, say, TripAdvisor or Google Places, and they give good ratings versus bad ratings. That social media exposes lack of character very quickly. So if you have good character, people will want to do business with you. No one's going to do business with somebody they don't trust, or they think is going to do something illegal, or is going to do something that wouldn't be the same way they would think about something, that wouldn't align with the company culture or company values, if that makes sense.
Right. So essentially, if I understand correctly, if someone were to go online and see two bad Google reviews that, are very similar, they both say, listen, this guy completely shafted me, they don't know what they're doing, and then they go to your website and it looks beautiful, at the end of the day, they're probably going to bypass you and go to the next person.
Yeah, and sometimes that can be overcome, because sometimes you'll get the odd customer that has. I'll take a great example of restaurants. Okay, sometimes you could have the waiter's having a bad day, doesn't deliver great service, food comes out a little cold, and somebody writes a bad review, right? But if you have 15, 30, 100 other reviews that say we had a great experience here, right, that's going to overcome that.
Sure.
Likewise, how you react to that bad review is going to say a lot about you. If you respond immediately to that bad review and say, we're really sorry you had a bad experience, it's unfortunate, we'd love to make that up to you. Here's a free coupon to come back and see us again. Come back anytime. We'll give you a free meal. We want to prove to you that we are better than what we did on that particular day. That will also go a long way. And you see that a lot in tourism, where people will complain about something and the owner of a hotel or a restaurant will reply quickly and positively. If the owner replies, you're full of crap, you just are a crappy customer, you're just dead at that point, because you're just playing right into that negativity that they've already started, and now you're just building on that negativity. So it's always best to try to fix that situation as best you can. With every client, with every customer, we try to do the best, but sometimes things don't go as you hoped. And as many times as not, it could be you, it could be the customer, it could be something outside of your control. Like COVID's a great example of that. I mean, companies are expecting certain things right now, and they are saying in their policy, we will not be able to deliver this in 4 days like we normally could. It's going to take 10 because of COVID.
Right.
You go to a restaurant, we're out of meat because of COVID. You know what I mean? Sorry, but nothing we can do about that. Those kind of things can be overcome. That's not going to wreck the reputation of a restaurant or a service or a company, because people are also very empathetic. They'll understand, yeah, I get it. It's COVID. Okay, I'm willing to give you some, I'll give you some breathing room here, because we're all in the same boat together on that kind of thing.
Right. Makes a lot of sense. And I guess this speaks to what we were just talking about, is the reputation online. But I know you've got a couple of quotes here that I think are pretty insightful.
Yeah. Well, I always like Warren Buffett. It takes 20 years to build a reputation and 5 minutes to ruin it. I mean, I'll cite a couple of examples. If you remember years ago, it's going quite a ways back. There was some Tylenol was on the shelf, and it had been tainted. If you remember, it was in the U.S.
Okay.
And some guy was going around tainting Tylenol. A few people died from it, and it proved it's actually what now when you see bottles on the shelf, then not only they wrapped in a plastic, but they also have the cap, and they also have another inside liner. So they have 3 ways that you have to literally go through 3 things to get into that bottle to taint it. So now when you bring home a bottle of Tylenol from the store, if you opened up the cap and you see that silver protector is gone, I'm not taking this. I'm taking it right back to the store because someone's gotten into this thing, right? That was all brought on by that incident that was by McNeil Health back in the, I think it was late 80s, early 90s. But what they did right away, they took all Tylenol off the shelf completely nationwide. Think of the millions of dollars that cost them. They went into every drugstore, every Walmart, everything. They said, take it off the shelf. We don't know if anything else has happened. Take it off the shelf. We're shutting that brand down for a few weeks, and we'll put new product out. We're going to put these safety features on, and we'll be back. So you couldn't get Tylenol for 2 or 3 weeks, and all of a sudden it was back to. That did them huge amount of positiveness for their reputation, because they weren't going to take a chance with the health of their customers. They were going to make sure that every customer got a package that was safe and the product that was healthy for them. And when it comes to being online, I hear people saying, "Well, I've seen so many," and you deal with owners, Jim, all the time that have been around for a long time. They've owned the same company for 20 years, 30 years, and their LinkedIn profile is a shadow face, president of XYZ company for 30 years. That's it. Nothing else. and there's nothing else about their company. Well, I'm telling you, if you don't manage your online profile, somebody will manage it for you, because people can easily go online and talk about that company. And if you ignore that stuff, it'll just get out of control really, really quickly. It can be like a bonfire. And so it doesn't take much. 1 or 2 negative. We have a few clients that had zero ratings on, say, Google Places or something like that. They had 0 ratings, and all of a sudden they had 1 bad rating. 0 ratings day 1, 1 bad rating day 2. Now their reputation is crap because they only have 1 review, but it's a bad review. Whereas if they'd gone out and encouraged their happy customers to review them throughout the years, they would have had 100 good reviews and then only 1 bad review. See the difference? So that's what I mean by managing your reputation online. Well, one of my dear friends, she owns a car dealership here in town, and she's very big at, hey, hope we did a good job for you. Yeah, could you go on Google and tell the customers about that? Just give us a review, or just give us a 5-star or whatever. And she is very big on managing her online profile, because there's lots of other, there's tons of Honda dealerships, anywhere within 15, 20 kilometer drive. You can go to Ford, you can hit 4 Honda dealerships, but the one with the highest reputation, online reputation, is going to have a stronger opportunity of getting that sale than someone who has a poor one or a mediocre one.
Right.
And so that's why I say be active, be aware, contribute value to others. One of our other clients, a company called Driver's Seat, they are huge online about having fun. They will post positive information about their company. Not only will they do that, but they'll just post stuff about right now they're posting stuff about their COVID policy, which is helpful to know when you're going to go use their services, use their chauffeur services or their driver services. But on top of that, they're having fun. They'll have a picture of them having all being socially distant out in the parking lot and having fun, or doing something fun, or having something going on within their office that they're all seeing socially distant, or how they're dealing with that, or how they're having masks custom made with their logo on them, or delivering food to the food bank, or all these kind of fun things they do. But they're adding value and they're having fun, and but they're keeping awareness up, and they're managing their online profile and building a great reputation.
Makes them look human too at the end of the day.
Oh, for sure. I mean, who wouldn't want to deal with these guys? I mean, if you go to their website, Driver's Seat, they look like just such a fun company to be a part of. Like, we're very proud to work with them because they include us in a lot of the stuff. We built their website, and they say, hey, we're going to have like last week they had a suppliers day, suppliers and consultants day for anybody that's done work with them. we want you to come in. We're going to have a 5:00 cocktail hour online. And we all sat around with beverages, alcoholic beverages online. And we all just, talked about stuff and just talked about what was going on in the world and how we could help each other. And it was great. And no benefit to them other than just having a good time with each other and having some fun. Yeah.
Perfect. So just shifting gears a little bit.
Sure.
One of the best practices nowadays is ensuring that people have a good website. And oftentimes, when we work with some of the clients who are at the end of their tenure on the business side, oftentimes they created a website out of necessity because everyone said, hey, you need a website.
Yeah.
Haven't touched it. And nowadays, how important is website performance?
Well, I think it's critical. Me personally, if I was going to look at a company, one of the things I'm going to do, first of all, is I'm going to look at their website because I want to know what they do. I want to know if they're competent. Again, do I trust them? Competency, character, consistency, right? Does that come across on their website? Number one. Number two, how out of date is that website? Because if I'm going to buy a company and I got to go in there and spend $5-10 grand on a new website, that's going to lower the price of the website, price of the business for me.
Right.
And it's a big deal with your online reputation. If you don't have an online reputation or a very poor one, that's something I'm going to have to overcome. I knew a former colleague of mine who bought a company, thought it was A, turned out to be B, and it sure found out that the database he had, the website he had, all the digital assets he had were outdated and crap. And so sooner he realized that he had to go and rebuild all this stuff up from the ground up, and that cost him thousands, literally tens of thousands of dollars to build all that back up again, just to rebuild the database. Was the database up to date? That kind of stuff. So with the website, it represents everything you are and what you stand for, as I mentioned. But it's more than that. It's about your relationship. If you can't clearly communicate who you are, what you do, why you should buy from me, and why you shouldn't buy from the competitor, like why I'm better than the competitor, you've already lost the race. Like if I go on your website, I don't even know what you do. I'm confused already. I'm off to the next website. I'm not even going to go any further.
Right.
That's the first thing. And am I also making it easy for you? Like if I go to a website and I have to dig to find out how to buy from you or what it is that you're really good at. I get that asked a lot. Like, what is it that you're really good at? Is it this or is it that? I ask that of my clients all the time because they do 15 different things, but you're usually pretty good at 3 or 4. And so what are those things, right? Help the viewer solve a problem. Anybody is looking to come to your website or come to you as a potential customer, they've got a problem they need solved. They have a need they need provided for. If they can't see that on your website right away, they're not going to be interested. If I come to a website, I'm looking to buy a motorcycle and all I see is cars, I'm on the wrong website. I'm out of here. So, but somewhere down there, maybe there's 15 pages down. Oh yeah, we also sell motorcycles. Oops, you lost that guy. So, those kind of things, make it a website that people want to explore. Video is a huge part of that, right? And we're going to talk about that a little bit later, but video is a huge part of landing on a website. Millennials especially, they don't want to read anything. They maybe got there. Now they go, what does this guy do? If I just can click a little play button, a 1.5 long video comes on and tells me exactly what I do, who I do it for, why I'm better than the competition, and why you should buy from me. Got it in 90 seconds. I didn't need to go looking through your whole website. And guess what? Now I can share that video with a colleague because they may want to buy from you too. And that's a lot simpler. And that's why I talk about resonating with recent video and updated content. I see websites that haven't been touched since 2014, 2016. They talk about a trade show they went to in 2017. That's their most recent news article. I mean, what does that tell you about how much they care about their online reputation or what you think of them or how they're going to get your business? It tells you they don't really care that much, or they're just out of touch, or the worst of all, they've been around for 30 years. They're complacent. They got these existing customers that just keep buying from them all the time. So what do I care about my website? My son told me I should build a website, so I built a website, and it's there, and it's a brochure online. I don't care if it's 2015 since I last looked at it, because I haven't changed what I do in 5 years. no big deal. It doesn't matter to me. But guess what? COVID just hit. Now people are looking around. Maybe they're not buying as much from you, or they're not buying at the same rate from you, or they're looking around for a better price because they can't afford to not look for a cheaper price or a better, or save some money. So that happened in 2008 a lot. There was lots of machine shops, for example, that were getting tons of business from the tier 1 auto manufacturers, tier 1 auto suppliers. And all of a sudden, their orders ended overnight, when the crash happened. And we got tons of calls saying, I have a four unit CNC shop that we make parts for this tier 1 auto company, and my orders just stopped. So how do I go out and get new business? And I said to him, what's your website look like? I haven't touched it in 5 years. What do you do that's different from somebody else? Nothing. We're the same as every other five unit shop. Great. How am I going to help you? The ones that did well, where a guy would say, well, I also have an accreditation in aerodynamics or in aerospace or marine or something like that. Okay, great. That's something we can work with. Let's the overword used right now. Let's pivot. Let's look after soon and get some business from there, because the auto industry isn't coming back anytime soon. We're talking about back in 08, 09. So those guys that could think outside of their little world, and then allow us to help them kind of remarket themselves a little bit and go after some different opportunities. They did well, they survived, and they actually grew bigger, because then when the auto industry business came back, now they had 2 or 3 sources of business that they could pull from, not just the one. Mm-hmm.
So here's another piece, I think, that a lot of people could really add to their repertoire at the end of the day, and it saves time, it saves energy, it saves money. And I know too, from a buyer's perspective, if you see something like a CRM already in place, it's a huge plus.
Yeah.
So why are people reluctant to have some of the marketing automations in place?
Well, I think there's a couple of things there. It's a momentum thing. So if people have been doing something a certain way for 20 years and it's worked for me, i.e. I keep all my notes on my customers on a spreadsheet, or my 2 sales guys that are now well into their 50s or 60s and they've been around forever and they keep everything on a spreadsheet or a Rolodex or a bunch of notes in a folder somewhere in a filing cabinet. It's worked for us for all these years. Why should I change? It's momentum, right? Or lack of momentum. Why change? Why spend money on something that I don't see the value in? Or they don't understand it. They fear change. So it's like where I see the companies that are really successful, and I know it sounds like a kind of a silly reputation of an example, but I see companies, one of our best clients right now, the father passed the business on to the son. The son got it. He said, you know what? Dad built up this great company, gave me a solid foundation, but now I'm going to take it to the next level. And he goes in there, he modernizes that, he brings in an marketing automation / CRM system, gets all the sales guys to buy into it. The ones that didn't buy into it, bye-bye, or, watch how the younger guys do it, because you're going to have to learn how to do it. Took it to the next level. Was able to use that marketing automation to identify potential customers, track them, engage with them, nurture them. So instead of asking a sales guy to make sure you phone that guy every 3 months to remind him that we're here, well, now they're emailing him once a month to remind him that they're here, and the sales guy calls him every 6 months. Mm-hmm. And they keep that moment, and they just keep getting orders in online. So now orders come in online, and they don't have to have a sales guy go out there and visit them anymore. So they're able to be much more efficient. They get a lot more information about their customers, potential customers. And that just saves them money and grows their business and makes it more profitable. That company's done incredibly well over the last 2 years, just by that son coming in and taking it. And their father's super proud of him. Like, he's like, yeah, I mean, I knew we needed to do these things, and he was finishing school. And so now he's done school and he's got a business degree, and he's come in here and he's doing this stuff. And I'm mentoring him and giving him the benefit of my knowledge of all the 30 odd years of running this business, but he's doing all the forward thinking, and he's doing a great job. And he brought us in to do the marketing automation piece of that. And so now he's got, like I said, 3 or 4 sales guys that are all using the CRM portion of the marketing automation platform. We're doing automated emails on a monthly basis. We're doing, sort of inventory clearance and sales and new product announcements and all kinds of stuff that they do. And that's been really great. And the great thing about that is it also provides you feedback, because every time somebody opens an email, watches a video, buys something online, that's data and feedback that comes back into the system. And now your sales guys have a much deeper wealth of understanding about what their customers are interested in buying, rather than just calling them up and hoping to get it, pin them down on stuff. They can now extrapolate that information out. Okay, so if these 5 kind of customers bought this product, let's find 50 other customers that look like these 5 and sell the same product to those guys. And that's what they do. But they use the data to do all that, not just their tribal knowledge, for example. If one of those sales guys leaves the company, his tribal knowledge goes with him. But if it's all in a CRM or a market automation platform, it stays with the company. So if he leaves, retires, wins the lottery, whatever, that knowledge is the company's knowledge, not the sales guy's knowledge. And that's really, really important.
You don't want to lose all those contacts at the end of the day.
I hear that all the time, Jim. I hear it all the time. I got, one of the guys is got one of our best guys got stolen. He's being recruited by our competitor. Well, that's okay. So now what are you doing about that? Well, he took his entire account base with him. We've just lost a third of our business. What? So the relationship was with the sales guy, not with the company? That's old school. Right. Nowadays, the relationship should be with the company, not with the sales guy. Sure, the sales guy is always, building that up and building, again, that trust level with the customer, but it should never leave. As best as humanly possible, never leave, unless the guy is a brother-in-law of one of the customers or something like that. There's so much we can do. But at the end of the day, that knowledge, that database is gold. And again, if you asked about at the beginning, if I'm looking to buy a company, I mentioned the website, the actually very first thing I'm doing is looking at the accounts. And I'm looking at that database, and I'm looking at that CRM, and I want to know what is my spread of business? Is 80% of the business with 2 customers, that 80-20 rule, or is it the other way around? Only 80% of my business is with a much wider spread. Like I've known businesses where they have 2 or 3 customers. If one of those customers goes down or changes or whatever, they're out a third of their business. Whereas I like to see companies that have 10, 15, 20 major accounts, and it's all spread out equally, 5, 10% of their business with each customer, so that if you lose one, you're only down 5 or 10%, not 50 to 60 or 80%. You know what I mean?
Right. So let's talk about online selling. Sure. And how this has become really popular, especially now with COVID. I think people are now getting more comfortable with making online transactions.
Well, it's funny, we were, the platform Shopify, which is the do-it-yourself e-commerce for small businesses and, consumer businesses. Shopify's stock went from early March at $500, which was overrated at the time by RBC, to $1,000 a share in 6 weeks.
Wow.
6 weeks. It's now higher valued than RBC itself. It's the biggest valued company in Canada right now. It's not going to stay there, with all due respect to Shopify. We don't think it's going to stay there. But the point is that people are going, oh my gosh, I got to be able to sell online because my doors are shut and I can't go and see my customers and they can't come into my retail store. So I'll pick my top 20 items and I'm going to sell them online, whatever they can do. So that's part of it. But the idea there is that, companies have always, again, back to that whole, they relied on relationship. They relied on that, come on into our order desk and meet, say hi to Jimmy while you're there and, have a coffee and place your order or place it in advance or call it in and we'll have it ready for you. Now they can't even do that in many cases. And again, I mentioned earlier, we talked about this earlier, the demographics of the millennials is they don't want to come out. They don't want you to come in. They just want to look on a computer, go, I need that. Does it do what I'll need it to do? Does it have the specs I need? Yes, it does. What's his price? That's fair. Boom, order. Ship it to me. I don't want to get off my desk. And that is becoming more and more prevalent. Now with COVID, it's even worse because you literally are, by law or by fear, aren't supposed to go into places or go visit places or come and make an order. You've got to have it done by online. And so it makes it much simpler if someone could just give you a credit card, You place the order, you're paid instantly. Number one, no cash flow issues now. You bought a product from me online, no cash flow. I don't have to wait 30 days for you to pay your bill. You paid it with a credit card. Your product's on the way, Mr. Customer. And so now you've eliminated cash flow, and you sold something without getting off your seat, without anybody's sales guy going out there. So think of the cost savings overall. Yeah, there's some upfront cost to setting it all up, but once it's set up, the savings long-term are massive, because you're just saving on people, you're saving on processing, you're saving on cash flow, HR, the list goes on. And so it's a huge way to shift your business. It also shortens the sales cycle, because again, I don't have to go on and do a whole bunch of homework or listen to a sales pitch or make a bunch of comparisons. I can just go online, boom, I understand what you have, I make a purchase, it's done, and the money's in the bank. The last thing is, it's a measurable thing. So I can tell you, if I'm selling majority of my products online, I can tell you where I have inventory issues. I can look ahead. I can predict where I'm going to have inventory issues, where I'm going to have seasonal concerns about certain products. I can tell you where I'm going to have issues with inventory awareness, quality assurance. You know, if you notice that you're selling a bunch of widgets, let's say, and 50% of those widgets are coming back the next week, there's got to be a QC issue there somewhere, because they keep coming back. Or your specifications are wrong, and you're saying it does this and it doesn't do that, and they're being shipped back to you. You can measure all that stuff, and it makes it much more affordable to be able to measure all that stuff and reduce your physical footprint by just being able to have a warehouse, ship it online, and out it goes. So,
right. Yeah, and I love the fact that it's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So.
Well, exactly. I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm a golfer. I think we're both golfers, right? So I bought a wedge online the other night. I was tiddling around, and up came a Golf Town ad, and it had a wedge I've been looking for. And bought it in the middle of the night. Shows up 2 days later, I'm on the golf course with it. Great. Didn't have to go into the shop and fiddle around or talk to a sales guy or nothing. I knew what I wanted. Away I go. Not that this retail stores are going to die. You still want to go out, do out and compare things and try things and try it out. But if you know what you want, you can buy it online, and it's instantaneous. We mentioned Shopify for small businesses and stuff. But even for a large manufacturer, like I said, we're mainly B2B. We have a lot of our clients now going e-commerce, and there's lots of different platforms out there that make it very easy to update, manage, change pricing, shipping information, various platforms. We use a platform called WordPress, and it tied in with an e-commerce system called WooCommerce. But there's a bunch of them out there. There's dozens of them out there. But a good programmer can set that up for you and make it very easy for you to change online. You don't have to go back to the website guy every time you want to add a product or take a product down or change your price. If you can open a Word doc, you can open up WordPress, you can open up WooCommerce and make a quick change and throw a new product in there, and it's super simple. We whenever we do an e-commerce site, we go through an hour training with the client. We record the whole thing, and we give it to them as a support resource for them, so they can go back in and go and rewatch it if they forget how to do something. So, or call us up if they forget. But we don't hold the keys for anybody's website. We want them to run it themselves. So, yeah.
Right. So I know there are some distinctions between business to business and business to consumer, especially when you're talking about reputation and going online and looking at people and their credibility. Can you tell us a little bit about the differences between the two?
Yeah, great question. So B2B versus B2C. Everybody talks, when I have a lot of clients that are B2B, the first thing they say, should we be really active on social media? And I'll say, number one social media for you is going to be YouTube and LinkedIn. LinkedIn especially for B2B, because if I'm buying a business-to-business service or a product for my company, I want to know that it's the owner of the company or the sales guy I'm dealing with or whoever has experience, is knowledgeable, reputable, has all that stuff. And before I maybe buy them, and even now when I do a call to a new customer, I look at their website and I look at their LinkedIn profile so I can get a better understanding what makes them tick, what drives them, right? Whereas B2C, it's all about those social media reviews we talked about earlier, right? if you go on there and you're like the driver's seat guys, they're big on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, all those platforms. They're constantly putting stuff out there because their customer is the general public, and that's where they are. Millennials are on Instagram, Snapchat. That's where they are. So if they show themselves having fun on Instagram and they post that resonates with their audience, and so that makes them align with their audience, and that makes their audience want to buy from them, right? Mm-hmm. Likewise, if you think about, say, YouTube, we would use YouTube as a way to post video for a client, but we'd actually play it on their website with a different kind of player called Wisty or something like that. But with the B2C, it's all about those subscribes. You always hear those videos. Hey, if you like this video, subscribe down below and hit the bell for, everybody does that, right? They're all about getting subscriptions and likes and followers because that's actually monetary for them. Like I know colleagues and friends, bloggers, vloggers that actually make a living on their blogs. They just do video stuff all the time. They have enough subscribers, and then advertisers will put an ad on their video, and that's where they make their money. On the other side, with the B2B side, the trust is back to that whole trust factor. We talked about character and consistency. We talked all about that. Accreditations, memberships. That all speaks to your competency, your character. If you're a member, for example, I'm a former president of the Rotary Club, and I'm still a Rotarian. I walk into some rooms and people will see that lapel pin on my jacket and they'll know what that is. That's instant trust, because Rotary is a very trusted organization around the world. And if you have a Paul Harris Fellow or something like that on your lapel, people see that, they go, this is a guy I can talk to. I know this guy's trustworthy. Likewise, if you're a member, say, of a construction association, around here we have the Grand Valley Construction Association. So we have a bunch of clients that are in the construction business, and they are members of that association because that's a great association. It's a very active association. It has lots of training and accreditations and safety training things that go on. And so therefore, if you're a member of that, that says that you care about safety. It says that you care about how your business is seen out there. Customer pedigree is huge. What I mean by customer pedigree, if I say to you, I've done business with this little company, this little company, this little company, and you have no idea who they are, versus if I say to you, I've done work with Procter & Gamble, and I've done work with IBM, and I've done work with, big companies that that really goes a lot further. Hey, if you guys done work with these guys, he must be good, because it doesn't, they don't take work from just anybody, right? So that's that whole customer pedigree. But that doesn't have to be necessarily big, recognizable companies. The customer pedigree can also come across in video testimonials. So you may have done work for, like, some of our best testimonials from companies you've never heard of before, but they are leaders in their industry. I'll give you an example. One of our longest standing clients is a company called Vertex Environmental. They're Canada's leading remediation company for environmental remediation. We've been with customers with them for a supplier and partnered with them for 10 years now. They went from being one of the also-rans to being the country's leading remediation company, and we like to think we had a big part of that. Our efforts with them had something to do with that. We have great video testimonials from the owner of that company, a guy named Bruce, who's the owner of that company, who's very well known in his industry and very well known in the environmental industry, and so he's kind of the guy, and so we have testimonials from him. But those testimonials from all of our clients are just, again, part of those dominoes that add to that consistency that I was talking about earlier. If I have on my website 10, 12 video testimonials of clients, unscripted, talking to you about who I am, that tells you about my customer pedigree. It tells you about what I am, what I do, because people won't go online and won't go on a video and lie. They might send you a reference letter because that's easy to write, and yeah, sure, write me something, I'll sign it. But if they'll sit for you for half an hour and tell the world about why they like working with you, that's gold. And that's what I mean by customer pedigree. And that, again, we talk about professionalism. We've talked about that a lot. And then experience and expertise, again, we've talked about that a lot, the LinkedIn and all that kind of stuff. If you've been, just because I also say just because you've been around for 15 years doesn't mean you're any damn good. I mean, you might have been pretty clever, but I do think that most companies, I think that any good company is not going to last more than 5 or 6 years unless they're really good at what they do, unless they continually change what they do. And then you start to think, well, there's your lack of consistency again. Maybe I don't trust these guys. Last year they were selling boots. This year they're selling running shoes. Tomorrow they're selling sandals. What's with these guys? So it's like, there's a whole inconsistency there. So I think experience and expertise really go a long way to building that reputation. On the B2C side, we'll just wrap up. The whole awareness thing is huge. Online reviews, and we talked about this earlier, online reviews, ratings, network referrals are really big. So if you get referrals from other companies in your network or in that industry network, we recommend this company, we've worked with these guys before. Those are really important. And just general awareness. The big challenge between B2C and B2B is you'll see a lot more advertising type stuff with B2C. You open a restaurant or a bistro or whatever. Unless somebody knows you're there, they're not going to come and buy. Well, how do you get them to know you're there? Well, you're not going to post it on LinkedIn and hope people show up. You're going to do an advertisement. You're going to do a billboard. You're going to put up signage. You're going to do a newspaper ad, or you're going to do a bunch of YouTube videos. You're going to go on social media and promote it. You're going to do all these things to, coupons in the door. You think about the pizza. How many pizza coupons did you get this week, Jim, from every damn pizza place in your neighborhood, right? But that's awareness. That costs a lot more money, and you have to keep on doing it to continue to build up that customer base. The minute that there's tons and tons of data that show the peak in sales at, say, a McDonald's or a pizza place between when a coupon went out and within a week of that coupon being out in the mail. And if they stop putting those coupons out, all of a sudden the business tapers off again. So it's like a treadmill. You're constantly building that up. And then the last thing there is value versus virtue. If you have a good company and you provide great value, that is really, really important versus somebody telling you that I'm a great guy, but doesn't mean I necessarily add any value to you. You know what I mean? Like, I think I'm a nice guy, but at the end of the day, if I don't add any value to your business, my virtue doesn't mean anything. It's all about the value I bring to you. So it's not about me, it's about you. I know some companies, unfortunately, that are very big about telling you about how great they are, but not about what they're doing for you, and how they can help you. How can I reach out to you? And that's one thing that I've always said to my team and myself. We're always like, how can I help you? One of the first things I say to a potential client, what do you need? How can I help you? And it may not be something I even do for a living. Like, if I can connect you with this guy. Like today, I had a conference call with one past client and an existing client, put the two together because they're doing air quality work. One guy sells equipment, one guy sells services. I said, listen, this guy sells air quality handling equipment. This guy does air quality services for real estate. You guys should talk. I'm not getting anything out of that other than just introducing these guys. But if they do well at the end of the day, so do I, right? So it's reciprocal. So.
Well, that's a good point. So, Mike, there's some great stuff here. I really appreciate your time. If folks want to learn more about MoreSALES, what's the best way for them to reach you?
Yeah, so reach out to me, Mike at moresales.ca. Our website is obviously www.moresales.ca. Lots of great content on our website. And of course, you can always phone our office at 519-620-8127. So just reach out to me any way that you're comfortable with. And I'm very prompt to getting back to people within 24 hours of hearing from them, and or less if I'm there right on the spot when I get the message. So, yeah.
Perfect. Thanks, Mike. Take care.
Jim, thanks very much for your time, and I really appreciate the opportunity, and have a great day.